something. So and Peppy, because I'm looking at faces. We're on Zoom. I spent one day where I was with 18 powerful women, even though two of them ended up getting COVID. We felt really happy, right? Deborah and Jane, and two Deborahs. And I wish
Yes.
Deborah Bender had her poem because you would get going. But I have pledged, and I've pledged it before, that we have to have peppy, supportive meetings. And we're going to just start with a quick go around, less than 50 seconds each. Just say something wonderful that's happened to you in this neighborhood that makes you happy to be in this neighborhood. Jane, starting with you.
Ah, geez. That was so on the spot. Um, oh, there's a wine bar that is going on around the corner from me, and I've been really worried about it because they were going to have outdoor seating in the back. And I think we've actually gotten through to them, and I think they're going to enclose it.
Thank
So,
you.
been a lot of conversation, but
Ah,
a
thank
big
you.
relief.
Deborah. Deborah
Which
number one. We're going to have to give the Deborahs, you're going to have one and two.
um something pleasant in the neighborhood. Going to walking to another meeting on Halloween and seeing all the ridiculously cute and creative little kid costumes and the parents. One of the best parent costumes I thought was the clear umbrella with the jellyfish. So regular clothes, bought a clear umbrella, tricked the umbrella out, and all she had to do was open her umbrella, and she was a jellyfish with her streamers. I thought that was brilliant.
Great. Deborah two.
Thanks, Dan. It's nice to be here at this meeting tonight. What I've in this community I've gained this year. Well, I'm gonna say not this year, but since the last couple of years, I've met an incredible amount of women, very supportive and just real powerhouses that want to see a change in this community.
Thank you, Deborah. Shirai is hiding in the corner.
Everyone.
Try.
Hi, Shirai.
So something that happened this weekend, there's something that happened this weekend that made me feel very great to be part of this community. The leadership support meeting that took place at the Neighborhood Women House on the 29th of October. It was really great getting to meet all women in their diversity. So it's something that made me feel really good as an immigrant woman.
Thank you. Lisa Bamonte.
Hi, Jan. I'm sorry my camera's not working.
And you're so beautiful to not have that beautiful
Thank
face.
you. So, the PTA threw a Halloween party at MS 577 for the whole school, and it was a huge success. I mean, it made me feel so happy that the kids are finally getting back to some type of normalcy. It was for all the grades and in the school, and we had a great time. It was after school, 2 hours. We got them pizza. We had a dance party. It was very, very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I see one of my favorite people, Teresa Seanciata. I know she never wants anybody to know she's 90 something. We won't say it. So Teresa, can we get her off of mute? And see this next corner, if anybody, Dina, can you keep your face? Here's been the face of the community board for the longest probably time any single person on the community board, because I was gone for in and out. She was here for the last 40 years, Tish?
44 or 45.
Right. And her daughter is the most incredible support person to her mother, which is wonderful. But Tish, do you want to say something, and Dina, about what's wonderful about this neighborhood this right now?
What's wonderful about the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So on the positive, on the upside here, let's go positive. Halloween was a lot of fun. There were pumpkins and decorations, elaborate. It was just so wonderful to see that. I had little trick-or-treaters come to the door. And that was pretty awesome because I used to trick or treat on Wither Street. So it was thrilling for me now to give candy out to these adorable kids, you know. What did you think, Mom? You went to the Halloween party at the center?
Oh, yeah, that was very nice. The Swinging Sixties, they ran a
Halloween, yep.
Halloween party. It was fun. I
Dance
was never there before. It was the first time
at a Halloween party, right?
at a Halloween party, and it's well run. And I see a lot of seniors there. I'm a senior as well.
Oh, are you?
They appreciate that center. Yeah. They appreciate that center, and I can understand. It's very positive. I know you were involved years ago.
Jan's involved all the
Jan
time.
Peterson.
This is Jan Peterson.
and,
Good looking chick.
You better
So,
get that
Jan,
memory
you
back
know,
there on that point.
You were one of the
Thank you.
original people
Yeah.
that got that committee formed and got a lot of people involved.
And Tish has
it-
been the co-chair of the Women's Issue Committee, and my understanding is she is stepping down after all this time, right? And Ray Lianza, who will come on later, is going to join me, if anybody
Good.
knows. So we're taking your senior bunch from Community Board 1 to make sure that the next generation of women in this neighborhood take our voice further. Katie, Denny Horowitz, what is something good that you see in the neighborhood?
So, like today, this week, historically, it runs the gamut. But I mean, I mean, I can piggyback off of everyone's comments about, how positive it's been the last couple weeks with everybody organizing events. Whether it's like cleanups or fall festivals or Halloween activities. Trick or treating was definitely, um, over and beyond this year with everybody coming out and so much positivity. So yeah, that's been wonderful to see. And I think that a lot of the goodwill and good work of the residents here and commitment to their neighborhoods sort of really gained steam throughout the pandemic has continued and has kind of turned into a lot of programmatic services for the area. And so it's a little overwhelming because there's always something to do every single day of the week, sometimes several things, but it's a lot of community, which is something that has always been in the Greenpoint Williamsburg area. And so I'll just stop there. Always lots of positive things.
Thank you so much. Joanna, are you on or are you off doing errands?
I'm on.
Can you tell us what's wonderful about working in this community and being a part of this community?
So far, I grew up in this neighborhood. I went to elementary school here in the north side and junior high school in the south side. And I love it here. Everyone's very friendly. Like we had an event that we went to, my daughter and we went to a fire department event that they had the open houses on South Second, and the fire department was very friendly. They took about an hour to talk to the kids about what they do, to show them the truck. So that was a really good experience, and we had a great time.
Thank you, dear. And Francoise, how about you?
I think repeating a lot of what everyone else has, already said, but my personal thing is that, my college roommate, who I've known for 26 years and her 3 kids, they live, 10-minute walk away. And I just feel so fortunate to have someone who I've known for such a long time still live here, as one of my best friends.
Thank you, Francoise. Okay, so thank you for being peppy and moving on. And I could see some faces. And next time, Deborah, we have to get your poem that you brought up on Saturday back because it blew everybody away at the meeting on Saturday. What we want to do tonight, because I'm a little concerned, Joanna, that the Hasidic women, which is what I was afraid of, I don't see Bella and I don't see Henny. So if there's any call you can do to Bella, that would be nice because we do have the women's swim. I'm saying we're pretty briefed on it anyway, but we need a. They were worked and worked and worked on being at this meeting for tonight at Swinging 60s, and they literally, and this is how easy, why we have to learn about each other's diversities, is that they really thought that I had canceled the meeting because of them, and they wanted people to know that many of them have gotten shots and done things, that it's not true that everybody is walking around without a shot. So they were, but I said no, it was me, that I caused the problem. But they have been working on their part in this meeting for several days, so it would not be great if we don't get them. But what we wanted to do is that Jane and Deborah Spiroff has been our kind of hero in the neighborhood for a long time in terms of raising the issues of violence against women, and seems to be everywhere. And I'm just getting to know her more and more. Pretty unbelievable that it's not just that she's at the hospital, but she's here, she's there, she's a victim advocate. I thought she had some high-paid job that was supporting her running all over, taking on all this work. Well, guess what? No. Surprise, right? And she and Jane have been talking for a while, and also with Deborah Benders, over the fact that one is that the work on violence against women has been fragmented in the Williamsburg Greenpoint area. I mean, you have to be a pretty smart person to figure out how to get help for what here, because you would have to run here, there, and the other. And from a neighborhood women point of view, which is why Jane is there and I am there, is that neighborhood women started out in the 80s building the first battered women's shelter in New York State. So it's a disappointing thing. It's in Sunset Park and it still exists, but that all that work that Mildred Johnson and people from Cooper and other places did seems to have gotten lost, but there's a new generation picking up the tags. So we are beginning to try, and Jane can take that on, but trying to look at what really is going on in Williamsburg Greenpoint and how could we take a step to have this be less fragmented and more coordinated, particularly with now that we have the Neighborhood Women's House and that space. So Jane, do you want to, and there's other people we've been talking to, but we wanted to have the three people here tonight take us several minutes. Deborah bringing us up to date about the situation in the community, and Deborah Benders about the whole campaign that's been going out of Cooper Park with other people, and Jane.
Yeah, I'll just start by saying that I was thinking about, in terms of the just violence in general, the street harassment. Something that I thought would be productive would be to get training for people on how to de-escalate. And I had been talking about this last spring, but my mother fell ill and I was out of town for some months. But we're kind of getting the conversation going again about that. So I've talked to several bar and restaurant owners and we were talking with Hollaback, an organization that formed. There was a woman, an Asian woman, many, many years ago, who was on the subway and was badly harassed. And she didn't get a lot of support from people on the subway, and people were on the spot because it was all filmed. And it came down to people feeling like they didn't know what to do or what to say. And so this organization, Hollaback, which is now called Right to Be, does training for people to teach how to de-escalate. And they have a really great track record to the point where they've become a really massive nonprofit with, extending all of, they even have international, they're even international now. So they would be willing to do some trainings in the neighborhood. And I thought, well, bars and restaurants, bars in particular, are good places to start because so many issues start there. And Deborah had the idea that if we were, and so I've talked to several who are interested, and some, the bar and North Brooklyn Chamber reps. And we're talking about in probably January and February doing some trainings there of staff members. And then, a couple of hours later, training public and inviting people to come in. And I also talked to Kendall, the director for the YMCA, and he said that they'd be happy to do training too. And I thought maybe we could even talk about the Swinging 60s and other locations, and target some of them. Cooper, we could do some at Cooper. And I think maybe we're talking about making the bar training sessions. Maybe we'll try to do mini fundraisers to fund doing them in other areas. And the Y, we're talking about doing them for different populations, elderly people, and also teenagers. And Kendall from the Y said, I have 70 teenage kids who could help train and learn this and help. And we're starting to also get the discussion about doing self-defense too. So, but maybe the Y will take that over. I don't know. We don't have to. So that's one thing that we're discussing, and that's probably more than 3 minutes. And Katie has her hand up.
I was just gonna say also, if you like crews who are public facing, like grounds crew or parks op folks, I'd love to have the Under the K crew, for example, undergo that kind of training.
Excellent. I love that. Oh, and another thing that the bar and restaurant owners have told me is that they believe it'll be to the advantage of establishments that get their staff trained, their insurance rates will probably go down. And then Deborah had a really great idea about a designation, and I'll pass it over to her right now. And Katie, I'm going to write that down. Excellent.
Deborah, 1 or 2.
Deborah Spearoff, because she has the designation idea, but I'll let her tell it because it's very cool. And they love your idea.
Oh,
Go on,
good.
Deborah.
Well, I thought that if bars or coffee shops or just business establishments could
Parks.
get a designation called the turquoise ribbon, which turquoise ribbon stands for prevention of violent sexual assaults, violence against women or any person. And what it would show if you saw that decal is you would know that the staff inside that establishment has gone through a training process, that you can go in there and say, I've been experiencing sexual harassment, I have just been assaulted, and know that that establishment will help you obtain help, that it's a safe haven. And bars, if you saw in local bars that their staff had a turquoise, that there was a turquoise ribbon within that, then individuals frequently that patronizing that establishment would know that the staff there had been trained on how to assist someone who is in a difficult or compromised situation. And that would be a designation.
How exciting. Wow.
Yeah.
And do you want to give any remarks about how you think the situation is? Because I'm hearing people on the streets that feel that they're being stalked. And I mean, several people, and I hardly go out. So I don't know if you want to say what you think the situation is out on the street?
Well, yeah, I certainly will. And I'll also speak to what I have been told uh, by other advocates and the hospitals that I work with. As things have opened up even more and people are going out, there's a lot of pent up, drinking, partying. People have been cooped up in their homes for 2 years. Um, and we're really seeing an increase in violence against women. And we're seeing an increase in street harassment uh, of just individuals following other people home and,
That's what I'm
really
hearing.
being aggressive with it. Um, and just this sense of fear in general. I think that there's a lot of anxiety and tension going on
Okay.
in general with the population. And I know that for myself, just personally speaking, and I have been living in New York City since 1988, and I had never felt this particular way before. I was in Deals, which is near Staples, near my home, and some individuals got into it. One was a store clerk, and then and they were arguing with customers, and it got very loud and heated. And it wasn't long after the shooting that had happened upstate. And for the first time, based on how much increased gun violence there has been, um, and I began to look around at the other customers and think, crap, this could go sideways really quickly. And I wasn't the only one, and I'd never thought that before here in the city. And other people are telling me, you're just more aware of the level of tension. So the idea of receiving a real training on how to de-escalate a situation or what to do if you find yourself in a situation where you might not be safe. I think that we really can do. um, I think it would be beneficial to have these sorts of trainings, but there is without a doubt, we're seeing it in the hospitals as far as people where it goes beyond just the name calling or the following someone home, and it's escalating to physical violence. Whether it is actually reported as a crime to the police, we're seeing it in the hospitals.
Oh, Jan, you're muted.
Guess you won't miss it. Um, just saying, Bella, we're talking about violence in the neighborhood that we see that women are concerned about. So if you have anything you want to say from your community's point of view or what you've seen, you can add it here. Anybody else too, just think about any experiences you've had that I mean, I like the idea of the bars, just to put that out there with the ribbon, and we could probably, we have several community board members here. Lisa, aren't you on the Safer Cities committee, the safety committee, Lisa?
Yes, yes, I am on the Public Safety Committee, and these are issues that we've been discussing, and I think that we're going to bring it up at the next meeting because everyone is right. There's this a sense people just don't feel safe and secure anymore. Um, I lived here my whole life. I walk to work every day. I only live a few blocks from my house, but I'm constantly looking over my shoulder. I was in Deals the other day, and this man comes up to me and he's following me around the store, and of course, he was a little bit, off, but and I'm saying to myself, God, I can't wait to get out of this store. I put my stuff down and I just left. I don't feel anybody has to. I feel women are being targeted too because they think that we're weaker and so on and so forth. But, it really is very disturbing to me. My kids go to
Thank
the
you.
park after school. It's, you don't have that sense of security and safety. And these are issues too with the Public Safety Committee. We're supposed to be having a meeting, if anybody really would like to join. I'm not sure what the date is yet, but um,
No,
these are,
I think what you're saying is important, Lisa, because how this committee operates is that part of our job is to surface issues and bring them to the appropriate committee. And already you're on bars and liquor, and I would think that even on the liquor licenses, maybe we could add another component that when new groups are trying to get their liquor licenses, we could add a component of their being trained and be willing to open up their bar to the training as part of the criteria. Do people like that idea? So we can put that forth. Katie, you're on the board. What do you think?
I mean, I always love the idea of combining committees, because there is so much overlap with our goals and interests. And so, especially with this committee, the Women's Committee, I mean, every issue
Right.
or we have
Right.
is going to overlap with some other. So I would be all for it. If
Thank you,
both
Katie.
committee chairs are on board.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I spoke with Ronan about this, so we're working together on this. So he's the head of the Public Safety Committee.
But adding that criteria will do big
I love
consciousness
that.
raising because it's concrete, and that's what we're trying to do is get to the concrete where the
Yeah.
visibility comes up because and the bar thing is such a great idea, you all. By the way, so thank you. Let's keep on moving. Tish, you have any comment on that? You like that idea of training people in the bars? I mean, you can go hang out with me in the bar. No?
Muted.
Yeah, muted. She's muted. Dina. So let's move to Deborah Benders. Can you give us an idea of adding to this kind of soliloquy? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take ideas and string them together, but have a more coordinated approach so people keep knowing how this is coming together. Deborah, you have been taking on very serious issues on safety
Well,
with
what
a
we
whole
did,
group of organizations.
yeah, what we did this over the summer was to deter the violence. We held a health fair. We had some movie nights. We did a street meet against violence. We had our family day. And our last event was a poetry slam, which turned out really, really nice. But I mean, we had a lot of cleanups too. We had a lot of support from the community. St. Nick's, Jackson Street Block Association was very supportive. And the time that we were doing these things, we didn't have no violence over here. And we didn't even have nobody selling drugs. So that was a plus too. So yeah.
Wonderful. So good news, because that's always been true, by the way. If you don't know it, even in public housing complexes, any building complexes, if the people are organized in their building, if a block is organized and has a block association, and I talked to William Vega and a bunch of people that were out for the parks meeting at Cooper Park 2 weeks ago, and they had that whole fair. I don't know what it was called, but it was wonderful. Everybody had their booths outside. But the real trick in my 50 years or 55 years of time in Williamsburg is those blocks that are organized are safe. Those buildings that are organized are safe. So I said one thing just to put out on the stream. All these CDCs, like not just St. Nicholas being one, but the North Brooklyn and South Side, all of them, if they did organizing of block associations, I think it's important to pressure because they have organizers. They have a whole staff full. Deborah, you have many over at St. Nicholas, they have staff. So if we could start, along with the bars, we could start organizing more block associations, that would become a real campaign without a very big cost. It would just be moving the next thing. So just something to think about. Yes, go on, Dina.
I had mentioned that to Ronan Daly. We had, what's his last name? Ronan's public safety.
Mhm.
Because we wanted some input, from my mom. Block associations are so vital, and I feel like they're non-existent now.
Right.
I can speak personally from, I've been going through binders and such, nostalgic information about the concerned citizens of Wither Street, and I'm just blown away about how their community against drugs, like what my parents have done, the meetings, the people that met like every month. It really was quite beneficial and a sense of community. People joined, people got together, people talked about it. My mom had the precinct there, the police. It was so politicians. It was just so good and successful. But my question is, and I'll keep it brief, Jen, I feel like people don't want to join in as much now. We sat on the stoop today and, we try to recognize, new people, welcome new people into the community, our new neighbors, and you say hello to them and they look at you like, why are you talking to me? Whereas you feel really bad because you want that, get together and the input and the talking and the camaraderie and the neighborly. We're used to the old school neighborly, and that I feel like that's gone by the wayside. So I think that more community block associations would be just so great. And I don't know how to, I don't know what to do about that, Jan, but again, like as I read the articles, I've been going through my mom's binders. I'm just, I'm not trying
Everybody
to pat her.
understands that Tish runs a block association and did for how many years did you run that block
Oh
association?
my God, for a really long time. Yeah, I mean, just
She and her husband,
incredible.
Guido.
Incredible. Just like, getting grants and getting locks for seniors, peepholes. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so impressed with everything that I'm reading, and it's just, I don't know, more block associations. That's
Thank
what I
you.
say. Okay, that's it.
Hi.
And I
Thank
think,
you.
what's his name? Our
I,
Michelle, go on, Jane.
well, no, I mean, I have a great block association, and
Oh, yay.
yeah, and we have 3 blocks in a row, and now
Awesome.
another one forming, fourth one forming. But we frequently discuss different issues, and with a lot of the outdoor seating, there have been some issues. There's a taqueria across the street from us, and the taqueria owner wanted to put out an outdoor structure on our very, very residential. I mean, it's nothing but residents on the block, and our residents on our block coordinated for about 10 months and held the parking spaces
Wow.
the whole time.
Wow.
Block association.
Block associations.
I mean,
Woo!
I thought that was a beautiful piece of
But can you
grassroots
see how the
organizing.
quality of life, can everybody see how the quality of life could be improved by block associations, the bar stuff? Then you really seem to be having a whole very interesting approach to actually do something substantive and to return to. I organized, many block associations. We planted all those trees in Italian Williamsburg. 150 trees I planted with the army from Staten Island. So I'm just saying is that doing them, that's a very interesting approach because I think that overall part of our committee is to look at how can we improve the quality of life and the participation, which is what we're saying here,
Right.
of people in it. It's not about having somebody do it for us, but it is providing support so that we can do what it is. Some cute guy just went in the back over there. I have to check all the cute men as they walk by. Bella, go on. Bella, are you speaking? Something happened.
Oh, while you're waiting, just Dina and Tish, with the Block Association, the new people are now being really great. We went over and invited them to join we have a very long email list, And now they're all, they're all gutting their houses and a lot of construction, but they're being really mindful, asking people, is everything okay? We're going to be doing work on these days. And so it's gotten more neighborhoody, even with the new people have been really,
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
yeah. So
listen,
there's hope.
with
There's
nothing
hope.
against, no offense, nothing against the new people. We welcome them into the community by all means. Wonderful. Come
Yeah.
on board, come on in, live here. It's a great community. But I don't ever want the not original, that's not the word I want to use. I heard they call us the leftovers, and I kind of get a little insulted by that because I consider us the foundation of the neighborhood. So come and live here and enjoy and join in, but with a lot of mutual love and
Talking and
respect.
I
dialogue.
never heard anybody use that, and I think that's just awful. I heard that somebody said that they'd heard it, but I've never
I've
heard
heard
that.
it a lot, and I brought it up with Jane, and I are debating. Do they really say this? But
I don't know. That
seniors are
sounds
told this about the bicyclists. But that means all the divisions we have. There's different kinds of divisions, and either one brings them together or they fall apart. Bella, you are on mute if you are trying to speak. Francoise, go on. I'm sorry. There you are.
No, I just wanted to say, like, in terms of block associations, I think Sante Michelli has done a really great job
Yes.
of
Yes.
organizing block associations. Jane, to your point, specifically around a lot of the outdoor dining in the backyards and the quality of life issues. But he's done an incredible job of really fostering community. And in some of the newer buildings, there are WhatsApp groups, and so there are kind of communities within the community, which is great. Our building had a big turnover, and it's everyone joined the WhatsApp group, is super excited. We have neighbors who left a Halloween goodie bag on the door for Josephine from their dog.
Nice.
And I do want to say also specifically working at the Swinging 60s Senior Center, I heard from probably all the seniors that they've been called the leftovers by people riding past them in bikes,
Right.
or, so it's very true. But I want to circle back to the violence against women. And I thought Maria Domerick was very brave at the last community board meeting to really step forward and talk about the harassment that she had faced from Kevin Lachera. I have received 6 letters from other women in the community with similar experiences. And I'll be sharing that with the full community board on that meeting. But I think it's something that we really need to address as a community. The intimidation tactics, the stalking, the cyberbullying, everything that's been going on. Some of you know what happened to me. The threats got so serious, I ended up filing a police report. I did not get an order of protection because I wanted to just de-escalate it. But this person ended up coming to the block that I live on after the threats were made, and they live in Queens. So, it's pretty serious. And I don't think we can have a functioning community and a functioning democracy if we can't have constructive conversation. And constructive conversation means that if someone doesn't agree with you, you don't stalk them. You don't harass them. So, it's at the point now where women are not, they don't want to come to community board meetings. They don't want to be involved in some of the community activities, because if they have a differing opinion, then they get harassed, cyberbullied, stalked, followed home. There was the meeting in June where we had an LGBTQ member in our community who was so scared of repercussions that they were on this meeting with their screen off and using a fake name. So, I think we have a lot of work to do right here at home, because it's unacceptable, for me to have to worry, and I filed the police report at the 94th. The officers asked if I feared for my safety and the safety of my family. And my answer was yes. And the fact that things escalated to that point is unacceptable, and it's.
Thank you, Francoise. I think, can I jump in on you, Francoise? I'm just saying,
Very
is
pleasant happening.
I think that we're beginning to see the areas that women are identifying where violence or lack of safety is emerging. And I think that, and we've heard this also from Victoria, who ran for office. So we have to say that women are running. Obviously, and things are happening. And that's another whole area of how to look at this kind of harassment. But I think in general, besides whether because this always opens up a lot of complexity, but the fact is, in general, I would say the community board is really trying to re-look at, it's not a pleasant place. We are not making the places that we are operating in, because people have been difficult. There have been all kinds of things happening at the community board. And I would be one on the community board to say that we need to have somebody that's coming in and help harmonize and bring back a positive tone. And now with Jerry gone and Marie Bueno gone, um, it's not easy. So, and if we don't say what we as women require in the institutions we're running, we have to say we want a certain kind of tone and a way that people are treated. Because I don't know how many of you are concerned about democracy in our country right now. I would assume that this is not where people can speak and have different opinions and not go crazy. I mean, I thought I would go crazy at different times in the last several years, but I've given that up. Where the Trump thing was just so rough. But not talking to half the people I know didn't seem to serve much. So I'm saying is that it looks like we're thinking about what kind of code of conduct
But
are we talking about having in the neighborhood, and do people know? See, my view is that a lot of people have very different views about what social action is and how you can go after people and what kind of advocacy. And I think we need to have some kind of code of conduct of how we expect to be treated, because I've had rough treatment in the last year, rougher than I've ever had, and I'm 81. So and it's very demoralizing, and I don't get demoralized. I'm a pretty positive person. But finish, Francoise, and then we'll go to Deborah.
Well, it just, this is a pattern in our community. I think to your point, this has been going on, since Victoria. I think Victoria was the first person to, come forward, and she was ignored by a lot of leaders in this community. I was ignored. Nomiki was ignored. And those are just 3 women who are running for office. So it just seems that leaders in our community either think it's okay for harassment and stalking.
Well, we know it's national now. So, we know now with Nancy Pelosi and everything else, it's become a national thing. So we don't, whether it's happening and not happening in your house happening, we don't want it here, I'm assuming.
But
We
it's
don't
been
want
here,
people,
Jan,
right.
it's been here for 3 years.
Yeah, I know.
And I think, at some point, leaders in our community have to either stand up for the women, and not just when it's convenient for them, and maybe even when they have disagreeing opinions, because every voice, matters. And by
Thank you.
silencing women, by silencing seniors, one of the women that's coming forward is an 84-year-old woman. She was a teacher at PS 84. She's lived in this community her entire life. There's no reason she should be treated in such a violent manner. And this is a really big issue that keeps getting ignored, and people, it's the
Okay,
pattern
so
needs to stop, and it needs to be called out by, the leaders in our community, as opposed to them working with them. And I think that's what's so concerning to women.
thank you.
Is
Thank you. I'm not cutting you off. I'm trying to move on to Deborah, because we also have Bella and where they're having harassment. We're having more than this. big things. Deborah.
Jan, can I just say what is one thing, and I'm so sorry because this I think will go to what Bella said, but one of the things that was said to me is I was accosted outside a grocery store and I was told that I could not be a woman of color and Jewish, you know, and that is racism and anti-Semitism in one sentence.
Thank you. Thank you for telling us about it and feel safe enough that you could bring it up. Deborah.
Well, getting back to how to, since the community board specifically, is how to make the community board serve the entire community. I think it should not be women, the word woman should not be a dirty word where we feel as though we can only be a person. We are still women. And we, as women, should be treated with respect. And if we are telling our board, our leaders, that this is a problem, just like we would respect and honor any other group, that this has gone beyond what is the normal course of living or business, and it has now moved into a level that is harassment, that does lead to violence. We need to be respected and heard and taken seriously, and not having men, because it's mostly men, who then go, well, you should just deal with that, and that's part of living in New York. No, it's not. No, it is not just part of living in New York or an urban environment or being part of a community board or a community leader. This is talking about having a safe and respectful environment in order to function, operate, live, and participate within the community.
Thank you
So,
very much. And I think Jane, you're quickly on there
Just
because I
super
want
quick,
to move. Yeah.
super quick. Jan, when you did that meeting on open streets, I thought it was a terrible idea because I thought it was so contentious. There's no way people could have like mildly respectful conversation. But I felt like for this community, that was about as close. That was the best. And it was because of the agreements that you had everyone use. And I feel like bringing in something like that could help. I mean, people, stating at the beginning that they're going to follow rules and listen to each other and not insult each other and not give each other advice and not, and to be respectful and take turns. I think that was powerful. Something
Thank
to look
you,
into.
Jane. And I see our block association leader has joined us. uh, I think in general we're saying, but I want you to follow the thread because if we come up with kind of a code of conduct and we're looking at democratic practice, and if women, like I happen to believe that women actually care about democracy and democratic practice. But if I'm wrong, you'll say that, because how do we, what you're hearing is, and what's complicated about what Francoise is bringing forth, or if Victoria was here, is when people are involved in politically organizing for office, it's very hard for people to take on what Deborah just said. Deborah just said that when a woman, it's like if you're raped or grabbed or harassed. We found out from the We Too movement, right, that number one, we're supposed to believe that women tell the truth. Now, they don't all tell the truth, but the overall knowledge of all this stuff is that women generally are not running up and saying they're raped when they weren't, right, or harassed when they weren't. So talking through some of the issues when you get around politics and running for office, it's very hard for people to hear. And I said I have a group that we work with in Uganda that would always have a retreat after an election, because if the goals are to really hear each other, really hear and take in and believe and build that kind of leadership in the Williamsburg Greenpoint area, we have to do some homework. That's all I'm saying. These are not easy, but this keeps coming up. This harassment issue on women running for political office has been coming up since the last year, which is why Francoise is frustrated, with the Women's Committee, because they've brought it up here. Now, our thing is to bring these things to other committees or to make them visible. That's really a lot of what we do. The issue of block associations, we were just talking about Sanzi, was that if you want to build democracy, and we've been talking about violence, and people were very clear in this group so far, and people may change their mind, but there's a whole effort to talk about going to the bars and organizing seminars in the bars about women's harassment against women, going to blocks, how block associations bring things down to the ground, how tenant associations, which is what Deborah's with, bring things down to the ground and bring people in, and how much safer people are when things are brought to the ground, and how not safe they are if they're not brought to the ground. So I'm just saying that's what we've been hearing. We've been hearing different issues, but the common theme is that that people have to participate, or they're not going to have the safe neighborhood they want. They're going to have to hire an awful lot of police to protect them, and some places have done that. That's what gated communities are. We can all live in a gated community and put a gate around our block, because that's all over the world. People have gated communities. But I want to take, so that's the one. Now, Bella, are you there? Bella? Because I'm going to start on the pool issue, because that fits right in here. We're saying that women are having, there's a lot of things that are happening to women that are not too terrific. Whether it's street harassment or harassment running for office or what. But Bella, did we lose you altogether? And Ryan, I see you're on the phone. Do you want to say anything at this point before I shift into the women's swim? And
Sure. I was just gonna say, like, I felt like this is a great discussion. We have 3 elected women, 4 women with Kristen Gonzalez that actually serve office, and I think they get harassed all the time online, and because they're elected officials, they can't block the harassers. And I just think we can't have a discussion about this without mentioning that, like, Emily Gallagher gets trolled to a degree about her body that's disgusting. And like I just think that we should also support our, not just the people that run for office, but our elected officials who can't block the trolls that harass them by the minute. It's like, if you ever read the comments on anything she does, it's foul stuff. And I don't see a lot of people standing up for her. Like I try to, but then you get attacked. But I'm just saying it's wild. But yeah, no, it's a problem.
Thank you, Ryan.
It's especially a problem, I think, for yeah, it's a problem.
And I think what people don't understand is the magnitude, what you just brought up, Ryan, the magnitude of how you would think that women that are even victims of things that happen to them, the magnitude of the abuse they receive back from people like what Nancy Pelosi has just been receiving over her husband. I mean, it's really unbelievable. So people feel they can get away with, and we have to put a circle around this kind of thing. So I think it would be very good to have a dialogue with the women that are elected about this topic and bring them forth. So, because I don't see any other way to stop things except by making people aware of what's going on and people to stand against it.
And I'm gonna say, it's crazy because I, as a personal person, anyone starts harassing me, block. You don't have to, but as an elected official with their official accounts, they can't block people, and so they have to sit there and just get attacked. And it's I feel, again, yes, as women of the district, we should definitely speak up for all of this type of the cyberbullying, and it's gross.
And you're also raising the fact that for the first time in New York City, we have more than half of the city council are women, and we have a lot of women elected in our neighborhood, and this should be used to further the quality of life in this community for the women that live here too. So I think that's kind of the theme that's emerging, and a dialogue with them would be very helpful to do. So.
Good idea.
Bella, you're there. Now I see a hand up. I never know that I'm going to get Bella in my lifetime. Bella, can you tell us what's happened with the women's swim? We thought we were going to be celebrating tonight. We are not celebrating. So Bella, you still got a hand and I don't see her. Bella. Joanne, is there any way to help Bella? Jane, do you want us to kind of bring up? I mean, I don't know if everybody knows already. You know that everybody understands the women's swim issue. Is there anybody that is uninformed about knowing what the battle has been over the Metropolitan Pool and having 8 to 10 hours of space for women? No. So we recently, and I'll speak, Bella, the minute you get on and can speak, talk. Bella called up and Hanny, they were all excited, and that's why we were going to have the big meeting at Swinging 60s originally, was that they were celebrating the fact that they got a letter from the Parks Department, and I think I don't know if they got from Lincoln too, that they were going to get back their 8 hours of swim time. Since we have all met, and this has gone on for 3 or 4 years, we have been involved in this women's swim over this lousy 8 hours or 10 hours out of a 72-hour pool house. This has been a core issue for all women, whether they are Hasidic, Muslim, older, younger, whoever they are. In fact, I just had a person at my house that 31 years ago remembered when I lived over there and we had all gone swimming with the women's swim. We didn't even know the Hasidic women had started this whole thing. We did not know that. But they were told, and after a struggle for the last year, which you haven't been brought up on necessarily, is that they had, when our wonderful mayor, de Blasio, was here, and he stood up at a meeting, at a town hall meeting, and grandstanded the fact that he was going to increase their hours from 4 hours to 5 hours. And I want to just say this, it was so humiliating. They had had 8 hours that they had negotiated years before, and they really need 10 because there was no time at night that women could swim. It's on the weekend they got 2 hours, and then they had 3 times during the week where they got 2, 4, 6, 8. That was their 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. Then it was taken away and they got reduced to 4 hours when they negotiated with the Parks Department. And then de Blasio gave them an extra hour. The point of what that is, I want you to feel the meaning of it from the humiliation point of view, which goes with what we're talking about with the political leaders. About every day, 100, when the pool is open, 100 women would show up at that time in the morning. Is from 9 to 10. They would have 2 hours in a row, 2 hours on Wednesday, and they only could allow 45 people in because they have one lifeguard, and the pool, that's what the pool held. So 45, if you have 1 hour, they're sent home. That means they walk from wherever they're coming from or take the bus or the car and they get there, they wait in line, and then they find out they can't get in. I mean, it's very humiliating situation. So 2 hours is what they've told. We have been participating in supporting them getting these 8 hours and 2 hours sequence, 2 hours together. And so they were told they would have this. And then they got a letter a week later from the Parks Department that said, no, you can't. We made a mistake after all that happened, and you're back to your 5 hours, 2 hours on Sunday and 1 hour on Monday, 1 hour on Wednesday, 1 hour on Friday. So they have, and I think a number of us have been talking but Bella and Hanny, who you've all met over time. And you know, Bella was put on the community board a lot because of the intervention of the Women's Committee. Um, she's been on there and participates in these committees, which is the first Hasidic woman that's ever been on the community board. But so what now, Jane? You talked to, you got the latest word from Lincoln, has spent the most time. We have not heard from Jennifer, which is very disappointing to me personally, and because at one time a lot of the anger was that um, people with the Hasidim, there's all again, it's like with the women, Francois, you know, when women are you're in politics, different things happen. So the Hasidim and the battles over housing with the triangle, the Broadway Triangle, and other things made people, Antonio's office in particular, very afraid to get involved with this, and they didn't like it because they'd had so many years of battling regarding housing. Well, in case you haven't noticed, the triangle is now being built with UJO, La Sures, and St. Nicholas, so they're all there. And so they don't have that same conflict. That doesn't mean land is not going to always be a conflict. It is. So anyway, you want to kind of bring up, so Lincoln, even though Jennifer actually has that district, the pool is serves everybody. So Lincoln, which we have to appreciate, has stepped in. Do you want to kind of brief us on that, Jane?
Yeah, no, from what we've heard, the Human Rights Commission is who has decided to take the hours away. And Lincoln is really working to help. He's been working on it. He had gotten some back and now they've taken them away. But he's actively working on it. And I asked if he could help set up a meeting with the Human Rights Commission. He said that he could. So, I mean, that's the update.
So you understand
He's
that
working
the
on it.
issue, I'm just saying, this is where we actually need Katie, any of the people that have lawyers, is that in reality, and this is too complex at 7:19 at night, but this keeps coming up, is that somehow at some point in history in New York, for example, we had a women's commission for the city. Most of you probably don't care if it's a gender commission or a women's commission. I don't know what you think about it. But it's very important to think that through, since we are supposed to be bringing out the issues of women in the Williamsburg Greenpoint community and what their priorities are and their concerns and what they would like to see happen. We're supposed to make sure that those things happen. We're kind of the eyes and ears, if we did it properly, for the whole community board on any committee, anywhere, and any issue that's going on. That is what the Women's Committee is about. And people, I said, I'm 81, so I'm telling you all, if you're looking at the future of having a women's voice in this community, people have to look like, does that matter that you do that? You know, I'm just saying, you know, and I think we have to do an evaluation to say that, does that matter? But the difference of gender today, gender doesn't mean the same thing it meant 5 and 10 years ago. There's obviously a whole fight by a huge amount of people that are looking at how do we look at the issues of transgender, this gender, that gender, all kinds of stuff with gender. These are complex discussions that we've never had here, and I've never heard, and they probably do take place in the community, but I don't know where they're taking place in this community. But we were about women. We were not about looking at all. That doesn't mean, and I think most of us here think that under the category called women, all women, whether they're transgendered or they are Hasidic or they are whatever, Muslim, that those women fit into what we're talking about. So if people begin to think that that's not what we're talking about, that's not the discussion to open up tonight at this time, but that's something to really get clear because it's not going to go away. And de Blasio changed the commission in this city, in case you didn't know and that never paid attention. His wife took what was called the Women's Commission and turned it into the Gender Commission. And I don't know that anybody thought about it one way or another. Now, and this goes to Ryan, we have all these women in the city right? And we have all these women in our district. I would say if that we should, in this meeting, if we can have with our women political leaders, for them to lay out what they think about reversing the name of the Gender Commission back to a Women's Commission, which is about women, that would include all kinds of women, but not become there's women and then there's transgender and then there's Hasidic and then there's this, where they're divided up. Do people understand what I'm saying? No.
Hmm.
Yes? No? Everybody died. Nobody knows what I'm talking about?
I understand. Let Ryan, it's Ryan's turn to talk.
Oh, she have her hand up? What, Ryan?
She does. She's muted though.
Yeah, and Bella's
Hey,
hand is
well,
still up.
I wasn't speaking to Jan's question, but I just was wondering because like we've been talking about getting women swim back from the Human Rights Commission for like a decade now. It feels like 10 years, and I feel like
4 years.
more.
Four.
Oh, 4? Okay, it feels like a decade. I was a member. I swam in
I
the pool.
agree
I
with
lived
you,
right
but
down
it's
the
not.
street. And I'm just wondering if also, in addition to trying to have this discussion, that maybe another strategy would be to ask developers when they come before ULURP, like especially if they're in the southern part, about building a community pool and like because the Met pool is not an Olympic sized pool. It's not super fancy. It's not nice. It's not clean. It exists. And there's many other pools. Like there's a pool down at 80 Metropolitan. And maybe the answer would be to like also just try and get like Broadway Triangle. There's going to be community things. Why aren't we pressuring the community to build another pool? Like we have all this, like, I mean, again, it's all about getting people together and demanding it. But to me, one of the most influential political groups in the city is the Hasidic community. And I am like, why are they not demanding that a community pool be built even closer? Now, I would hate, like, one of my favorite things about the Met pool is the women's swim. And the fact that like I get to meet my Hasidic women neighbors there and I get to interact with them. So I would be sad if they moved to another place, but I'm also being realistic. Like wouldn't it be amazing if there was like, we're not trying to get 2 hours, but we could get like 5 hours, 8 hours, a whole like just more. I don't know, but
Okay.
that's me.
That I
Can
think
I
I think that's good to keep us on that pact. I only got diverted because this is the issue of the whole thing. So we can have a meeting, which I think, and people can join it that want to join it, but I think we have to have your dialogue again about what, because this is really about big things. It's not just about those 8 hours. I did not spend at 81 years of age, the last 4 years of my life, supporting Hasidic women I had never met before in my life until I got involved with this, because I care about 8 hours. I care about the fact that we are saying in this community and in this city that only certain kind of diversity counts, and that people can't plan for the real diversity, and that women can't have space, their own space. I find that very appalling. Now, the rest of you may not, but is certainly, I couldn't believe it. And by the way, the women, and if Bella was on here, we met with all the Jewish men, Hasidic men, and many of them, and they put pressure. The women here learned how to stand up, have been standing up, have been still going, still fighting, and they are asking for this help to get now 10 hours a week. And I think we need to make this another political issue, but I think that the point of it has to be spelled out, that people don't quite understand. Go on, Francois, don't understand these distinctions.
and I just want to, but I think what Ryan said is really important. I think the pools are being built. They are being built, but they're just for the buildings. They're not for public. So I think this is also a city planning. And swimming, especially as you get older, it's mental health and it's physical health. And people say you're supposed to get 30 hours of physical activity 5 times a week. And at the Greenpoint YMCA pool, which is also tiny, when I go for lap hours, we're kicking the wall. We can't even swim.
Yes, that,
So it's, and there's the threat of losing the Greenpoint YMCA, which is the only, somewhat public pool that we have here. So I think just talking to Lincoln, or, trying to figure out, how many people are moving here. Swimming should be a basic skill, in my opinion, that's taught, especially as a coastal community.
Thank you. And we know already, because the women did all this work. That's why I said it's a long topic, but it's health. Their biggest issue is health. The health and the exercise that Francoise is bringing up, and we have people that come out of the camps of Germany still alive that are using that pool. So I'm just saying it's really an unbelievable situation to me, and horrifying.
Excuse me, Jan. I have Bella, and she's wants to speak over the phone because her mic is not working.
Okay, Bella, you get last shot because we're near the end, but I think we are going to be following up. I would like to see the Human Rights Commission person come out and meet with our committee. I don't know about what you all think. Do you think that is there any reason that we can't have this mysterious whoever it is that sits down and uses the word human rights to say all this, and not to talk to the people personally? I mean, I don't get this. I mean, it makes me not want to vote for any of those things on the ballot right now where they say we're going to create another office. I thought, if we can't have an office that we know how they're going to work with real people, I don't want it. But do you think that's a good idea? Human Rights Commission coming with our political leaders. If we have all these women political leaders, as Ryan is saying, this is a good opportunity. We wanted to in the beginning of the year. We attempted, but it's very hard with COVID to get our women leaders to say what women's issues are they standing together on, because we need to hear how they work with each other besides what they think. But go on, Bella. Bella.
Bella?
She's muted. You're muted, Bella.
They can hear you. Can you hear her?
No.
She's muted. I can see it.
Mine doesn't even show that she's muted.
No, she's trying to do it over the phone. She's unable to speak over
Bella,
mic.
you're gonna have to go and let
Whoever has the dashboard can unmute her. It should be either the office dashboard or Jan. Someone has a main dashboard where they can mute and unmute people. Someone should be able to unmute her.
That is exactly what I'm doing, and it's
but
not
she's
working.
on a phone and not on. Give her another minute, but and I just want you to take this symbolically. This has been the real problem. People can't communicate. We couldn't tell people not to come to Swinging 60s. Only one person has a computer. I mean, I'm just saying, this is the nature.
Can I make a brief comment about something?
Go on. We'll keep talking while she's trying. Bella, the minute you can talk, we'll stop. Go on.
No, I just noticed something while we're talking how we attend this meeting. I remember the Outreach Committee proposed, this was at the midst of the pandemic, actually to have the committee meeting where there were no panelists. I can see for the first time there are panelists, there are attendees. What that means that you're not going to see the videos of the attendees. So if you don't go and look at the list, and I believe the intention, we understood the difficulty with the general board, the full board meeting, there were too many people. And so there were panelists, the attendees, but I thought the committee meeting were supposed to happen where everybody had the ability. And of course, if somebody was behaving not well, they could be pushed out of the meeting. But I believe I'm seeing now, actually, when I joined the meeting, I was an attendee. I believe Joanna realized I was a board member and I was promoted. I don't know if there's been a change. I don't know if there's been a change or it's just, it was a request that you made, Janice, just to clarify, because based on that idea of participation, the committee meeting were supposed to be open to everybody. They could turn on the camera, you could see them, and everybody could
Well, it is open to everybody. It's just that Bella's having technical problems.
No, it's something else. The meeting is set with a different format. You have panelists and you have attendee,
Oh.
like the full board meeting. We were supposed to be all panelists at the committee meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I
for
don't know,
bringing that
Joanna,
up.
do you know anything about that?
We can't hear her either.
Joanna?
No. So we can't have everybody have to hang on at this time of the night. So we are evolving an approach to the safety. We've informed people that know of other groups in our community or people that should be linked to this initiative that Deborah and Jane are pulling together. Please let them know. We have some very important leadership that is emerging, I think, on that topic. And we are seeing that we need some kind of code of conduct for how people work in the Williamsburg Greenpoint community. What do we say? What are we expecting? Like on the issues of people being harassed if they have a different viewpoint and all that. If we don't have a document or anything, a social compact, even if everybody doesn't see it, we have to begin to at least clarify what we require. It's like things. What do you have it at the table? You have ways that you should behave. At Thanksgiving, your family has it, but what do we have? We don't have a set of basic agreements of what we expect. In the Women's Committee, we have some. So I think working on the basic agreements matters. And we're seeing that after 4 years, as Ryan said, we're in a place where finally we were able, because of this committee, to work across religious lines, to work with women from the Hasidic, from the Muslim, and we talk to each other in an in-depth way, because many people were opposed to the women's swim. Other women were opposed until they heard what it was really about, and then they got to know each other and talk. We've had in-depth dialogues with these different communities, and do we want to lose that? I think Ryan said a very important thing. If we can't push to have the women's swim where women can come together across these diversities, we lose that. Yes, maybe they could go build another pool, but that would be a pretty sad commentary on New York that prides itself on being for diversity, and diversity is under attack. You know that, right, across the country. So is there anything? So we're looking at following up with the Human Rights Commission, and I think we should make every attempt. People know Lincoln and Jennifer. We want to meet with whoever this is that is putting out this issue about how human rights are being violated. I have not yet seen one man or heard of anybody that says this is not what they want at any board meeting. We've had 4 years of board meetings. I think what's his name that just left the liquor group, Tom Burrows, was the only person that voted against, and he wouldn't mind my saying it. He's the only one that voted against it, and he had a view of why he did vote against it. But everybody solidly has supported this pool, and how this whole community board and all the politicians, how Lincoln could have been telling everybody that he won something, and then they sent a letter saying, no, you didn't. What is that to the city council? They don't have any power to decide what. So I think it's a power issue that matters in terms of how our parks are run. And I think a lot of people are not so happy. That's why we need your help, Katie. These issues of who gets to decide what with the parks. Steve and all these parks, this is big. So that's my end speech. I'm gonna go to Deborah Benders, and we're going to try to tell me if it makes sense, anything that I just said, because you didn't understand the gender discussion. So let me know. Go on, Deborah. Now I can't hear you either. Joanne, now we can't hear Deborah. I guess. Oh, there. Okay. Deborah?
Bella?
Yes.
On now. I can talk now?
Yes, we're doing a
Sorry.
conference. That was the only way I was able to get you on. I don't know what's going on with the system, but it's
Okay,
so.
okay, I can call.
Can everyone hear Bella?
Can
Can
you all
I
hear?
talk
I can
now?
hear.
Say a few words?
Yes, go
Yes, I
on,
can hear
Bella.
you.
I just spoke
Yes.
for you.
Okay, hi to all. Hi. It's very disappointing that somehow something doesn't function well. However, I did hear part of whatever Jen was talking, and I really think she did a marvelous job. She said more or less what I would have said, and actually, it's true. Instead of celebrating, we are disappointed because we had the schedule on the computer, on the pool's site. It looked fine, like 2 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Wednesday, 2 hours on Friday, and again, Sunday, happy hour with mothers and children from 1:30 to 3:30. And no sooner it was wiped out, completely wiped out. It was very disappointing. In a way, it seemed as if somebody is playing a trick on us. So now here we are, and we are asking, we should have a little bit more time. Maybe we'll settle even for another half hour every day. I know there is a difference, a change of timing for the children from the school. They are coming now at 10 a.m. instead of 11 like they used to. So we are having now from 9 to 10. It would be satisfactory for us if you gave us from 8 to 10. And maybe we would settle for from 8:30 to 10. A half hour more would mean so much to us. Like even today, about 60 women showed up. It's very hard to swim 60 women in 1 hour. You can just imagine. So please, we are looking to the politicians that really were trying to help us, and I assume that some of them still do. Please, we are looking forward for some good results in reference to the women swimmers. And I'd like to add that this is not a pleasure swim. This is something like a health swim. People need it, and if you see how everybody's body aches and hurts, if it's the knee or the shoulder or the hip or the back or the neck, everybody has some sort of problem. As we age, these things come up, and the pool was a very good solution. And maybe it's worthwhile to mention again that this good session that was held in there for 30 years shouldn't have been wiped out before looking into it legally and from any other aspect before it was taken down. The women should have been able to continue swimming all along while an investigation or whatever you call it is taking place. Yes, so we would need even more hours because the population is getting older. The women are getting older, and so we face more problems. So I hope all of you nice women out there, you can recognize our asking, and please, politicians and Good Samaritans over there, whoever you are, please see that we get more hours.
I don't know
And
how
maybe
Good
even if you can
Samaritans,
get
but
once a week an evening hour, like 2 hours in the evening would also be nice.
see, what they really want is 2 hours 3 times a week and 2 hours in the evening and 2 hours on Sunday. And that's what they really want and need. And we know that none of our seniors, hardly none from the Williamsburg Greenpoint community that are not Hasidic are swimming at all. So they gave it up years ago because there's no place for them to swim. So this is
I'd
not
also
great.
like to add that there's a good, nice mix of different women. It's not from the community, but different. No race and mentioned. There are. I don't know. I don't like to go into details, but if somebody would take a look, they see it's not only the women from our Hasidic community. There are other women, and there's no limit. Anybody, as long as you are a woman, you can join. And again, I'd like to mention that I hope that the fact that the lifeguard is not available sometimes, this should never happen, because if the park commission cannot supply enough lifeguards, there are Red Cross lifeguards that would come and do the job.
And that's the other humiliation.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me voice my opinion and actually it's not my opinion, it's the fact, the way things are today, and I respect and thank you all.
Thank you, Bella. Ryan? And Deborah Bender, I have to go next. But Deborah. Now we can't hear Deborah Bender. Sorry. Joanne, we can't hear the other people, Ryan and.
Oh, okay.
I'm unmuted now. When you were speaking about the
I'll just say one more thing.
We're over 7:30, so I want to let.
I just want to bring this to your attention, Jan. I had reached out to Vincent Piccolo from the parks last year in May because the sign for the park in Cool Park for the kids' playground has been missing for over a year. Margaret Carnegie sign is still missing. I went down there today and it's still missing.
Can we add on to our parks issues here? The Margaret Carnegie sign that Neighborhood Women put up in the park has been missing, and it's been brought up several times. That honors one of the most important leaders out of Cooper Park. And you have also that we put forth the idea of having handicapped, right?
Yes.
I may be using the temporarily disabled, whatever the appropriate use is, the swing, that children that are in a wheelchair, that there is more diversity for who the park serves, which not only includes women, but includes handicapped people, which it poorly serves. And Deborah has been leading an issue because she's experienced this personally. And Jane has been helping her. And I think, Deborah, didn't you just win some big award? Where was that award that she got, Jane? Are you talking? Where did Deborah get a big award? Oh, you can't talk either. No.
That was through the North Brooklyn Park Alliance.
North Brooklyn Park Alliance. Thank you, North Brooklyn Park Alliance. And the other Deborah, she got that award too? So at least we are doing what we're supposed to be doing is people are getting awards. Ryan, are you still having your hand up? No. Yes. I think everybody can't speak except me.
Oh,
my.
hey, I just got unmuted. Sorry.
Okay.
I just wanted to say I'm just being a pain and like being historical, but in 2016 when they outlawed women swim, there were a bunch of people that showed up. They wrote letters to the community board. I kind of found a lot of the opinions that didn't want the women's only swim to be a little bigoted, but there was a group of people who specifically had complained, and that's why the Human Rights Commission had it.
If you can pull that stuff, by the way,
I think Joanna, I had like my Gmail got filled with so much spam mail from the CB that I had to delete everything. I would think the office would have that historical record because at the time when I was on the board it was 2016, we got tons and tons of these letters forwarded to us.
and I don't have that, and I'm telling you that this is a real problem, and we have to now pull out all the material from the last 3 or 4 years from the press and everything else, because that was the problem, is that New York Times printed an article that was not right at all from the very beginning, and that's what started the whole issue. But anybody that can find any of the material.
A member of the community complained and wrote a letter because there was a swim club.
No, I know, but they thought it was because they were all Hasidic, and that they were not that there were not other women's groups there, and that was never true. As you were there, I was there, a lot of us were there. So it's wrong, and the women here in the Hasidic community were not getting credit for having saved the pool in reality, because they wanted to close the pool down. It was the artists and the women. So we want to honor the people that do these things for us. But Bella, thank you very much. We're talking about following up in several ways, which you will be part of, and we'll let you know if we can get the. I think we have to have a face-to-face meeting, but we'll find out from Lincoln and Jennifer and the women that we now have in office. As you said, Emily had supported the women's swim. We take support from everybody that can help here, and but particularly getting the human rights, because that all the time that they tried to bring up human rights in the last go around on this thing, the human rights people would talk to me and say, it's not us, it's the mayor. It's not us, it's the mayor. So now they're trying to say that with the new mayor, it's not him, it's human rights. So it's been just insulting and humiliating and really upsetting. And I think that in general, what we were hearing tonight, that a lot of the harassment and a lot of the things that are happening, they don't think we'll fight back. So I think it's time to let our gang know we will. But anybody that disagrees with anything you've heard before we close, and I know that Katie, that Jane and Deborah the two Deborahs are going to help by closing with appreciations. Right? We want to start saying nice things to each other. So in closing, Deborah, I see your face smiling. Which Deborah is going to give an appreciation for anything you heard in the meeting? Anybody that did anything that you appreciated?
I appreciate everybody on this call for giving advice, concerns, and issues that's been brought to this community. I hope, my prayer is that we get these resolutions so that we'll all feel safe.
Thank you. Deborah Spiroff?
I really feel that and appreciate that this meeting, it felt as though the members who were speaking and participating were not bickering amongst one another, but stating clearly what their concerns were. And I really appreciated the respect and the clarity.
Jane? You're cut off.
Oh, okay, there we go. No, it wasn't working. I kept pushing. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for being here and caring. And I feel like, I'm so bothered by people treating each other poorly in the community. And I feel like, God, we're united in that we all care. And we need to learn to just work together and not tear each other apart. And thank you all. Thank you, everyone.
Who is SM?
Sante.
Oh, Sante. Yeah, you're SM. I would say, it was very nice to have you back, Ryan. We miss your voice at the community board. So I wanted to welcome you back. It's very, of course, disappointing to hear all the things that are happening, but people I think we were thoughtful. And the idea, it was a profound statement you made, Ryan, about how we could miss out on the way to get to know women of another group. I really found that extremely profound, and I want to thank you for that. And to see the different ways that all of us can connect through safety and bring the women's perspective to these different committees. So we're hoping that, Lisa, you will be bringing to the safety meeting, and I know that Tish and I are on the board of the Parks Department, Parks thing, committee, and I think they're having a meeting coming up, and I think we need to get more action. I don't quite know what's happening with our Parks Committee at CB1, but we need to talk to Phil, so people that have a close relationship with Phil should talk to him. Yeah.
Hey, call Eve, Joanna. I also called her now and I said you want to talk. You can call her now.
Who's
I
talking?
can put the appendix, I think. Nice call on yet Joanna. Your last call. The phone's on Kaiser Hospital. Okay, I'll give you the number. 718
Bella?
389 0009. Yes, so call again now. I just
Bella, they
Okay.
can hear you.
Yeah, we're all
Call her phone.
Bella. Okay, so thank you all. Give yourself a hug, and we need to return hugging to the community if we ever. I don't want an elbow. I want a real hug. So let's hope that that's coming up soon. And good night. And our next meeting is. I mean, you will hear. We wanted to kick off now, but we have space for December 2nd, and that I think it's the 2nd, but that will be online. But I hope that in the new year we can meet those, do both online and face to face at the same time. I hope we can have those kind of meetings. And those of you that want to apply to be the head of the community board, district manager, please tell people that you think are would like to do that, because that is going to go out fast and people have to move, because poor Joanne is in that office by herself. Right. So good night. Thank you, Joanne. Bye.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
We could sing. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Oh my God, good